All right. Good day, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody's doing amazing. I know this is different right here because I just don't like repeating myself. Like, guys, last lesson, and I've been doing a lot of praying on how I'm going to say this. My mom said don't say it like I'm going to say it. My dad said it too. I just talked to Brother Carey. I talked to Sister Trotter. Guys, let's be honest. How many times we do a Bible study and Sunday school lesson does the lesson veer off somewhere else? Just about every single time. And when you ask a question, the people who talk the most in the class, when they ask a question, it always detours the lesson. Guys, I don't know if you guys realize, I have like 2 to 1 hours of content to talk about with every single time I do any kind of study. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I don't need anybody talking to help me out just to, I don't need that, okay? What I need is everybody to make points. Say what the lesson's saying so we can all grow together. I'm trying to learn just like you. I'm trying to grow in Christ just like everybody else. I studied a lot for this lesson, so I want to give everything that God has taught me to everybody. Okay, guys? Do you feel me? All right? I take this serious, all right? I love Sunday school. I love the Bible. I love the Lord. And if you can't tell that, I feel sorry for you. All right? So I love this text. What it's talking about is actually talking about exactly what I just said in a way. All right? It's talking about pretending, acting like you know something when you don't know something. It's talking about playing a show, acting like you know Christ and you don't know Christ, just to make yourself feel better about yourself. That's your reward. And then you're going to burn in hell for that. All right. And I know I sound real mad, and that was probably a bad way to start the lesson. But guys, I was really mad last time we did the lesson, and that's something else I want to say too. Whenever my dad comes up here, he comes up here for 2 reasons. Either everybody is off track, and what's being said just proves that everybody's confused. And yeah, that's the only reason why my dad comes up here. And then the second reason is the lesson's going great, and he wants to participate and make some points. So I'm going to ask you guys the question, which one, the majority of the time, is the reason why my dad comes up here? All right, so today, we're going to make points today. Today, we're going to focus on this text, and we're going to give God glory, and we're all going to learn together, okay? All right, so the title of today's lesson is, let's read it in unison, Piety that honors God. All right, key verse. Prepare of. There we go. Matthew 6:1. All right, so let's start reading the verses like we always read. This is Matthew 6:1-8.
Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them. For them you have no reward from your Father in heaven.
So whenever you give alms, do not sound the trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward.
But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Number 4, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
Number 5, and whoever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward.
Verse 6. Whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
Verse 7. When you are praying, do not hype pressure as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words.
Number 8, do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him.
All right, Heavenly Father, please forgive me if I didn't glorify you with the way I started the lesson, Father. I pray in Jesus' name that you please come into everybody's hearts and just have your way in this room. And every single time Scotch Chapel's doors are open, I pray that we all learn, we grow closer to you, Father, and your name is glorified, Father. I pray in Jesus' name that today, everything that this lesson could possibly talk about and say, that you meant for it to be, with what you meant to be said, it said today through each and every single mouth and every single vessel you're using in this room. Father, I ask you could please have your way, Father. Glorify yourself today and make sure nobody in this room gets the glory except for you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, so you guys remember when in Matthew chapter 5, verse 20. So let's talk about this lesson. So Matthew chapter 5 to Matthew chapter 6 is the Sermon on the Mount. It's Jesus' most popular sermon that he's ever given. He took the disciples. So it wasn't just the 12 disciples, other followers that he had. And he brought them on a hill, and he told them the way of the Lord. See, there was an image in that time period of what it meant to be a follower of God, what it looked like to be righteous and holy and the devout one. And this is what Jesus said about those type of people. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, he said, "For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." What does that mean? Oh my gosh. Your righteousness have to exceed that of the Pharisees. The Pharisees prayed at least 3 times a day. Morning, afternoon, and dinner. They literally fasted all the time. And they showed that they fasted all the time. Then not to mention, they did all these righteous acts, all these things. They knew the Torah, they knew the Bible, they knew everything. It looked good on the outside. They looked amazing. And Jesus said, your righteousness has to be better than that. And what was he talking about? He was talking about the heart. He was talking about being honest and being transparent and being sincere with your faith and where you're at. That's what God wants and that's what God likes. He doesn't like for people to show off. He doesn't like for people to pretend like they are, to put on a show for people. He doesn't like that kind of stuff. Right? So, another verse that came into mind was, y'all remember when Jesus said, don't go into a wedding or a feast or something like that and sit at the best table. Because if you sit at the best table, you may get embarrassed when they say, you got to sit somewhere else, dog. This seat is meant for somebody else. But he said, when you go to a party or something like that, humble yourself, sit at the worst seat. That way, if you're sitting at the worst seat or something like that, they'll come up and tell you, I got a better seat for you. Why are you sitting right here? You don't belong here. Because he said for those who exalt themselves will be humble, and the humble will be exalted. Right? And there was another verse. See, God answered my question with this text. I've always wondered what James 4:3 meant in a way. I know what it meant, but I didn't know what this meant for me. All right, I'm going to read it. You guys ready? James 4, verse 3 says, "When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." See, the Pharisees did things to seek a reward. And their reward was to be seen by men, to look as if they knew God, and to have people come to them so they could get rich off of them, make a profit, and then that's it. That's all they cared about. They used this God thing as a way to take advantage of other people, to hire themselves up the ladder of success. And some people do that in today's time period. So this text is very applicable to today's time period. So let me talk about that verse again. James 4, verse 3. "When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." Guys, what are the wrong motives of your heart? What are your intentions behind the stuff that you ask God? Is it right? Is it pure? Is it corrupt? Is it evil? Does it please God? Because like that verse says, if it doesn't please God, if you're just trying to get up the ladder or something like that, or to be seen by men, are you going to receive it? So this is what this text is talking about. And so for me, man, if I'm being honest, how many people are guilty of this? It should be everybody, right? Because it's me as well. Oh, you're going to say something? Oh, okay. So it's me as well. So my wrong motives, man, my kryptonite. My girlfriend knows, everybody knows. Women are my kryptonite. Lust, porn. And so when it comes, and I'm being very vulnerable, all right? I'm being completely transparent with you. And when it comes to those things, those are my kryptonite. So really, when it comes to, and then another thing is just I always wanted to be a people pleaser. That was my biggest sin, my biggest flaw before I became saved. And now I got to the point where I don't give a dang what people think anymore. I only care about glorifying God. So that's why I started off the lesson like that, by the way. Because I don't care if I make an enemy out of people. I only care about glorifying God. So, like I was trying to say though, there's some people I'm really close to. I can't be vulnerable because they're here. But there's people in my household that, they doubt me. They don't see the best in me because they're so familiar with me. So I'm constantly trying to prove my worth to them, to prove that I am somebody, to prove that I'm a bad man, jam. God lives through me too. I do that on a constant basis. And this is what this text is talking about as well. And let's get to it. I'm just going to go ahead and jump to it. All right? So Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. All right? Beware of practicing your piety. What is piety? Your righteousness, your religiosity, your Christian living. Be aware of practicing your Christian living before others in order to be seen by them. Are you doing this? Are you constantly finding yourself in a way trying to prove to other people that you belong to God? Now, and I know somebody's going to ask, what about Matthew 5:16? Doesn't it say to, go out to all the world and shed your light to all the world and show people that you're a child of God? Right. You're the salt and light of the world. That's what you're called to do. But Jesus said, beware of practicing your righteousness before others to be seen. That's what it's focusing on, to be seen. A lot of people in today's time period, it's all about acting. What is a hypocrite in this time period? A hypocrite, see, the word is still the same thing, but in the Greek and Latin text, and in Jesus' time period, a hypocrite was the definition of an actor, a pretender, somebody who's acting in a play and trying to play a role. It's somebody who's trying to put on a show for our audience. It's somebody trying to get a hand clap from an audience. Is this the way that you're living? Is this the way that you treat the Bible and Christianity? Is this the way you come to the church to try to be seen by others to show that you belong to God? That's a real insecure person. And I know I'm really getting into the lesson, guys, because this lesson hit home for me, so I want it to hit home for you. Are you insecure when it comes to your relationship with God? Do you really know him? I'm going to wait to get to there. You know what? I'm going to get there. I'm going to use my dad example. With my dad, I don't have to prove my relationship with my dad. You guys know that's my dad. Matter of fact, you guys have to call him and text him and not beg, but you have to ask him to come to you. I don't. He lives in the same household as me. I'm in his household, in his home. I can wake him up at any time when he's sleeping before he go to work. That'll be a bad idea. But I can wake him up at any time and say, Dad, I need you real quick. I don't have to beg. I don't have to ask. I don't have to put on a show. It just naturally happens. Why? Because I'm his son and I have that privilege. And I have that kind of relationship with my dad. Same thing goes with God. You got that kind of relationship with God where you can just go to him anytime? Yes, you do. And this is what he's talking about in this text. You don't have to pretend and act. You don't have to give alms, which means you don't have to give to the poor. You don't got to sing a certain type of way in the choir. You don't have to preach a certain type of way. You don't got to do anything for God to love you. Matter of fact, there's nothing you can do to make God love you any more than what he already does. Just FYI. He loved you as much as he loved you when you were jacked up in a wretched sinner and there was no hope for you. It will not change. And what people try to do, they live their whole entire lives. Trying to prove it's really to proving to themselves that I'm worth it. And matter of fact, man, this lesson hit home for me so much. Man, I'm going to the analogy, man. You see this rope? I begged my dad if I could have a long rope just for this analogy. All right. So look, Rick Warren used an analogy one time. Am I in a picture frame? He used an analogy one time. He said that, life on earth is like a speck on an infinity line that keeps on going. See, this line keeps on going a little bit. Right? I can't spoil the surprise. All right, so it keeps on going. It's an infinity line. So life on earth is like a speck on an infinity line that keeps on going. Well, no, and the infinity line that keeps on going is eternity. And the speck is just your life. So what are you doing? That speck of time that you're doing in this on this little infinity line is going to dictate all eternity. What's going to happen? And so what Jesus is talking about in this lesson is, you seek after rewards. You seek after things. You seek after little temporary things to affirm yourself, to prove to yourself things that I already done affirmed about you. And when you do those things, when you put it on a show for people, when you're acting like you got something to get, you act like you got math. What's the consequence of acting like you're good at math in calculus 2 and a quiz come? What's going to happen? You're going to fail, right? That's your reward. Do you want that to be your reward? And so you're living your whole entire life to seek after temporary rewards, doing things the way that you think's right in your little mind. instead of doing it like God says. And when you do that, this is going to be your reward. What's going to happen all the rest of eternity? Hell. But Jesus is saying, this is the way I want my children to be. I want my children to be transparent with me. I want my children to be honest with themselves. I want my children to continually examine themselves, like 2 Corinthians 7:15 says, something like that. So, like, this is what you're called to do as a child of God. Do you know how many wrong motives you have right now in your heart? You know how corrupt your heart is? Or am I the only person that's honest? You know, I'm a jacked up guy. You know, if I'm being honest, one of the biggest reasons, like, this is my hidden motive. Like, it's not the biggest reason, so don't even get twisted. Don't judge me. I'm being completely honest. My motive of, like, I want to be, I'm going to just go to it. So Kobe Bryant, man, is my favorite basketball player of all time. When he passed away, it really hit home for me. Because Kobe was, man, my family will tell you now, I went through everything with Kobe. They gave me a Kobe Bryant jersey when he came in the league in 1996. So ever since Kobe was in the league, I watched every game. My dad introduced me to basketball. So that's another thing. I'm going to get to that in a minute. My dad introduced me to stuff. So because he introduced me to basketball, I remember him watching the Sacramento Kings playing against the Los Angeles Lakers. This is when the Lakers won their first finals, right? After they beat the Kings and the Spurs, right? So, like, this is when I was 8. So this is when I fell in love with basketball. I was like, yeah, okay. And so everything was Kobe to me. Every single time I threw in the trash, and Kobe, you know, everything. So I love Kobe, man. And so with Kobe, man, he had the Mamba mentality like my dad preached about last Sunday. And the Mamba mentality is to be great at everything that you do. The Mamba mentality is if you're going to waste your time doing something, at least put in everything you got to get everything you can get out of it. Why would you waste your time doing something you suck at, you have no business doing, and you're not gifted at doing it? That's the Mamba mentality, you know? And so Kobe, man, he always wanted to be great. And he wanted to be so great that he wanted to inspire the world. Like, this is the way this is what it takes to be great. Hard work, dedication, outworking everybody. And if you don't do these things, you're not going to be great. And look at him now. He inspires so many people. And that really touched me. When he passed away, like, how many people he inspired, and it wasn't just me. It was everybody. Unless you just didn't pay attention to him, you didn't know him, he didn't inspire you. So, like, yeah, so, like, when it comes to that, man, I forgot where I was going at, but rewards. Okay. What y'all got? Y'all got anything, or y'all want to keep on going? Keep on going? All right. So something else I want to say, man. Yeah, so if you're living for the applause of people, if you're living for the approval of people, the approval of others, man, people are going to forget about you. People are fickle. You can't rely on people for anything. And if you do, it's going to end up failing you eventually. Whether this is your wife, your children, the people who love you the most in life, they're not God. They can't do what God wants to do for you. And so one thing I was going to tell you guys, if you have to put on a show, man, that just shows how insecure you are. And not just that. See, I talked about that in a minute. I talked about that a little bit, but let me get into it. So insecurity. So, you know, when confidence comes in the room, it doesn't have to make any noise. If you're really confident and you know that you're beautiful, let's talk about beautiful people for a minute. If you heard all your life that you're just gorgeous, and let's talk about beautiful women. Every single guy that you see, oh, man, you are bad. I want you so bad. Obviously, you know you look good. Really. So when you come in a room, you got that confidence like, you know, I'm a bad, you know how girls are, they're bad B word, that's what they say now. So, you know, they don't have to say I'm beautiful. They don't have to say, you know, they already know. That's confidence, right? And so also, insecurity is not knowing who you are. It's not confident. It's you not being confident in yourself. Everybody's insecure with something. And Jesus is talking about the Pharisees right here. See, I don't have to act like I know my dad. See, some of you guys have to, well, that's bad to say. A lot of people have to do that with my dad. I don't. Why don't I have to do that? Because I'm his son. I sit in his lap I sat in his lap when I was a baby. I don't sit in his lap now. You know? Like, I have a certain kind of relationship with him that gives me that kind of connection. So I can walk in confidence like, I know my dad. Because I do. I can tell you stuff about him you probably don't even know. You know? Actually, you wouldn't know. You know? So like, that's the kind of connection I got with my dad. That's the kind of connection he got with me. That's how it should be with God. It takes work. It takes time. And just like with the Kobe Bryant analogy, that's what I was going with. You got to put in the work, and you have to outwork others in order to get this kind of relationship. See, I'm in the same house with my dad for years to get this kind of relationship. This is how it got to be with God. You know, it's just not going to just come. You didn't going to just, if you prayed, oh, man, you know what? Let's get to the text, man. Let's go ahead and get there. Let's go. I didn't even finish verse 1. Beware of practicing your righteousness before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So I'm going to finish out this analogy, and I'm done with it. So, your reward. If you're doing things that way to be seen by others, this is your reward, then hell. If you do things to be seen by your Father, so things in private, behind closed doors. See, this is the thing. Me and my dad, I had the relationship that I had with my dad because it was behind closed doors. Half of the things, actually majority of the things that happen with our lives, you didn't see. All you see is us at church majority of the time. You know? This is how it is with God. You can't have a relationship with God. Because let's be honest, guys. When you're with people, do you act the same way with each and every single person that you're with? Sometimes you act differently. Why? Because some people are judgmental. Some people can't handle it. Some people got a handicap. It's different reasons, right? So, in public, you can't be yourself at all. But when you're in private, you can talk to God the way you want. You can tell him how you really want to feel. Your private prayer is going to be different than your public prayer. And that's something else I want to talk about, too. Yeah, I'm just going to talk. I ain't even going to worry about the verses. Private versus public prayer. Do you pray more in public than you do in private? Because, most people do. Because if you do pray more in public than you do in private, that's your reward. Do you want a fake, showy kind of relationship with God? You can't have a connection, an intimate connection with him if you never talk to him in private. And that's something else. Kobe Bryant was only as great as he was because he didn't just play basketball in front of people. He practiced behind closed doors. And that's the Mamba mentality again. He was in the gym at 4 a.m. When people came to the gym for practice and the opponents came to the gym to shoot around, Kobe was already there shooting. They're like, dang, I can't let Kobe outwork me. Kobe been there for 10 hours. They didn't know that. And Kobe just stayed longer just because he wanted to beat them out in their little practice, their little 2-hour workout. Kobe stayed longer. Then something else Kobe did. And one time when he played against the Boston Celtics, I think it was the Celtics, they kept on fouling him, right? They kept on hitting his arm. So Dwayne Wade asked him, because Dwayne Wade won the championship against the Celtics, right? He beat them and then won the championship with Shaq, right? So they kept on hitting his arm. So he was like, D Wade. He called up D Wade. This is my mentality as well. Called up D Wade, somebody he's better than, and said, D Wade, what do I do with the Celtics keep on hitting my arm like this? How did you get through it? Because D Wade had a field day with the Celtics. And he told him the secret. And so Kobe heard the secret, practiced it. Then not only that, Kobe practiced shots right after the game when they kept on fouling his elbow. And he practiced shots with the trainer keep on hitting his elbow just to practice hitting the shot when somebody hit him. That's the Mamba mentality. So behind closed doors, are you doing this with God? Are you putting in this kind of work in this relationship? Because if you don't, the little infinity line, the little speck, that's your reward. Your little life. That's not a reward, guys. There's no reward for you. I want to be rewarded by my Father in heaven, the reward that keeps on going. You got to put in the work in order to get this reward, man. It ain't just going to come, all right? So, yeah. And there's something else, that's really childish to do if you got to put on a show for people. How? You remember in 1 Corinthians 13:13, yes. Yeah, 13:13, it says, Paul said, when I was a child, I acted like a child, I spoke like a child, for I was a child. But when I became a man, I had to put away childish things. Right? It's really childish to, think of a kid. When a kid finally rides a bike, what's the first thing that they do? Mom, Dad, look at me ride a bike. Actually, they probably will see it before it happens, right? When a kid learns their ABCs, I won't tell you how I learned my ABCs. My dad taught me my ABCs, but I won't tell you how I learned it. But when I learned my ABCs, who's the first person I tell? My mom and dad. As a matter of fact, they see it. So there's a lot of things that my parents helped me to do. My dad taught me how to defend myself, made me take karate even though I cried and didn't want to take it. He taught me, introduced me to basketball, taught me how to drive. So half of the things I do now, you guys, you just see the result of it. You didn't see the work that it took for me to get to this point. The way I talk now, I know. Terry Lee told me before he passed away, way before, when I was in SCA at Tennessee State. He said I sound like my dad when I talk. So maybe you guys agree with that. I don't know. But, these are the analogies, guys. So it's really childish to have to, run up to somebody and say, look what I can do. Look what God done through me. You know, that's a really insecure person. And that's how most people are, you know. And so I'm gonna let Scripture interpret Scripture. All right. Anybody else got anything else to say before I bring this out? All right. So you know how. All right. So Jesus practices what he preached. He wasn't just saying stuff to say stuff. He literally showed how this is done. He literally gave us the example to follow. If anybody had a right to brag about anything and to boast and say who they were, it was Jesus. You know, God in the flesh. People continually said to him, you know, show us signs, show us miracles if you are who you are. The majority of the time, if not every single time, Jesus did not do it. Why? Because he knew what was in the heart of men. He knew why they wanted to see a sign. So for you to go around and show people signs and miracles that I belong to God, what does that say about you if Jesus didn't do it? Apparently you don't. You know? And so he did not need any testimony about mankind, for he knew what was in each person, and he knew who his Father was. See, let's go back to the baptism. When Jesus was baptized, what's the first thing that the Father said from heaven? Said a dove descended or something? Right. This is my son, who I am well pleased. Guys, when you spend time with the creator of the universe, God, your Father, goodness gracious, man. This is my son. This is my daughter, who I am well pleased. You don't need that from nobody else. When God affirms you, it don't matter what man does to you. It don't matter what man says. You've been affirmed. You've been redeemed. You got your reward. This is your reward, eternity, with him. You may not see it right now. You may not get to experience it. I mean, you will in a way, but some people, life's harder for others, let's be honest. And a lot of people don't get the reward till eternity, heaven. And when you got eternity on your mind, man, this is the stuff you think about. So what's the point of putting on a show and acting like you know something when you don't, you know? And so then another example is the widow. You guys remember when the Pharisees went into the synagogue and they gave an offering or tithes or whatever. And they gave out of their abundance. And then Jesus said a poor widow went up and gave out of her poverty. And it said that she gave 2 cents, basically. And Jesus gathered the disciples together and he said, you know, you see that woman right there, that poor widow that just gave in money? She gave more than the Pharisees and the people did because they gave out of their abundance. But she gave out of everything that she had. Can God say that about you? Giving out of everything that you have. Goodness gracious, like, if you're giving everything that you have, what you do in private is going to show in public. You're going to stand out from other people. You don't have to put on a show. It's going to naturally come out. It's just going to regurgitate out. It's in your nature. That's another thing about the mob mentality. Kobe Bryant was so great because he practiced more than everybody else. He put in the work to work on his weaknesses. Matter of fact, he didn't just put in the work. He had the mindset that I wanted to embarrass you on the court. Now look at him. One of the greatest ever. So, yeah. All right. Anybody got anything they want to say or add that I'm forgetting? All right, so I'm going to go to the verses, man. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Man, that verse is powerful, man. So that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. See, that goes back to everything I was saying, guys, right? But let's break that verse down. I want you guys to tell me, what did Jesus say to you with this verse? Verse 3, man. But when you give to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. What does that verse say to you? What did Jesus say to you right there? How is that done? I mean, because obviously you can't give without passing it along with your hands. You know, you got to obviously do it. Is he really talking about, you know, giving with your right hand and hiding your left hand behind your back? No, it's a figure of speech. It's an analogy, right? So it means a lot of stuff. So I want you guys to break that down. What does it mean?
It means when you give from your heart, nobody else has to know what you have given.
All right. Anybody? Oh, and that goes back to the widow, right? That widow gave out of her poverty. She wasn't ashamed of giving what she had to give. This was for God. So if anybody else got anything else to say, hey, you're irrelevant. This is all I have to give to the Lord. And because she did that without, she had nothing. People are going to judge her and make her feel bad. But did God judge her and make her feel bad? See, this is your reward, guys. What you do in private. That's where it comes from.
And God is
So,
the only one that matters to see what you're doing.
right.
Nobody else, only God.
All right. Yeah, and so that's another analogy. I didn't get to say it, but, I used to sit in my dad's lap a lot. I kind of remember when I was a baby, which is weird. Like, I was going to ask you guys, what's your earliest childhood memory? Because, the older you get, the more it fades. So you got to try to, remember. And when I'm sitting in my dad's lap as a baby, even as a kid and even now, I don't have to try to be seen. I don't have to try to get his attention. He's looking. He sees. He hears. He knows. Same thing with God. God sees you. God hears you. God knows you. You're his son. You're his daughter. You don't have to try to do things to, get like, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, look. There, he already sees. As a matter of fact, he sees in private. He sees behind closed doors. Go to your closet. You don't got to put on a show, man. You don't got to say magical words and babble on and say long prayers. That stuff's irrelevant. You have to, oh, man, this is another analogy I was going to give you guys. So there was a story. A pastor came back to a town. Long story short, he's back preaching at the same church he started at or something like that, right? So a lot of his members left. And so then he said, I'm going to go chase those members down and try to get them back and see what's going on, And so he went back to see this girl who had 3 kids. And of course, they're older now. But when she went there, he asked, why don't you come no more? And she said that there was once a steward there. And when they went the first or second time, the steward told her 7-year-old son at the time, don't bother coming back unless you got a three-piece suit next week. And this woman and her children, she was at her weakest point. She had no money. She was struggling financially. So she didn't come back because she thought he was a hypocrite. Why would, people like that in the church. So, you don't have to look a certain type of way when you come to God. You can come as you are, just like the song says, right? So, yeah, that's something else I wanted to say too. But, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That's talking about calculating, measuring, trying to do those type of things when you give. As if this is going to make you more righteous. As if God's going to love you more if you do this. Letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing. He's saying doing it in such a way it's secret to you. The mob mentality is just doing things in your nature. I don't practice shooting like this, get my hand hit, that when it happens, hey, in public, I don't got to think about it. It's going in. And one. Count it, Kobe. You give because it's the right thing to do. You don't give because it's a show. It just comes naturally. Right, yeah. Half of the stuff oh man, that's so powerful. You know how Jesus said, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not sing in your name and preach in your name? And he said, depart from me, for you do not know me. Man, come on now, you do not know me. And then that goes back to the sheep and the goats parable. I'm going to tear it up, guys. The sheep and the goats parable. You remember Jesus said, I'm going to come and I'm going to divide the righteous from the unrighteous. The sheep and the goats. And he said that I'm not going to just divide you guys. I'm going to say something to you guys. And he said to the goats, the goats were like, didn't we not prophesy in your name and everything like that? And Jesus said, when I was hungry, you didn't give me nothing to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. When I needed clothes, you didn't clothe me. Right? And then he said to the sheep, what did he say? The ones on the right side. He said, the righteous were like, Jesus said, come up a little higher. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Whoa, wait, well done. What did we do? We didn't do anything for you. And Jesus said, when I was hungry, you gave me something. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I needed clothes, you clothed me. And the righteous was like, what? What are you talking about? I don't even know. When did we do it, Lord? See, that's what it means to be a righteous person. You just do things, you don't even know what happens. You don't remember. So that's what, man, if you do enough stuff as a Christian, if you really love your neighbor, it's just going to come out. And half of the stuff you done did, you don't remember. But those people do. And they're going to make sure that they tell you, this is what you did for me. And if that's not going to happen, it's going to happen in eternity. Because half of the people you probably won't see again. Right? Yeah, so. All right. Anybody else got anything they want to share? Like that verse 3 says? Ooh, what a lesson, man. All right, and so I'm going to keep on going. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners so that they may be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. So same thing I've been saying. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. See, Christianity happens behind closed doors. Christianity happens in your bedroom, in your car, wherever. It ain't going to happen in public. I mean, that's right. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm trying to say. All right? You got to put in the work behind closed doors. And that's the only reason why Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, any of them who are greats are so great. Because let's be real. Anybody that's in the NBA is pretty good. I mean, they could probably beat everybody in this room. They can't take me. And okay, they could beat everybody in this room. You know? But we talking about the greats. Who even make the greatest in the NBA look like fools? You know? These are people who put in the work more than everybody else. So if you want to stand, I mean, guys, that's another one of my flaws. Like I was saying, my hidden motive. Guys, if I'm being honest with you guys, I want to be great. Like Kobe Bryant inspired me to be, he's in the Raptors in Los Angeles, in the Staples Center. I want to be in the Raptors of glory. Like when it comes to all the great saints of ever in the history of mankind, I want to be up there with Paul, Peter, and all the greats. I'm not going to lie. I want to be that great for God. It ain't just for me. This is how much I love God. And I told him when he saved me. You know, I lived my whole entire life trying to please people, trying to, make them see me some type of way. Actually, some people are just not going to see you how you want them to see you. Some people are just racist and bigots and just going to hate you because they hate you out of ignorance of trying to get to know you. You know? So God taught me that, you don't have to work. You don't have to try to prove yourself to me like you do to other people. I love you, Sean. And I was jacked up, And he said, you don't have to do all that, Sean. I already accepted you. I already affirmed you. And ever since he said that, I told him and I promised him, God, I promise that I'm going to show you more love and try to fight for your love more than I did other people. I mean, I don't have to fight for his love or anything, right? It's already freely given, right? All right, so let's keep on going, unless y'all got anything to say. When you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Man, that was powerful because you guys remember Mount Carmel with Elijah? And he went to King Ahab, and King Ahab hated the Lord. That's Jezebel's husband. And he said that it was a famine in the land, and King Ahab hated Elijah because Elijah told him, because you disobeyed God and you didn't serve him, didn't love him, and you led the whole nation to serving idols and everything and turn away from God, there's going to be a famine in the land. So King Ahab couldn't stand Elijah. And so Elijah kept on trying to tell him, you need to repent. You need to go to God. And so, long story short, Elijah challenged him to a competition. He said, okay, if your idols are who they say they are, they'll be able to do this, right? So they had a competition of whose God can turn an altar into fire without you starting a fire on it. And so the people, the pagans, the people who were King Ahab's proteges, they're his preachers, his false prophets and everything. They all cut themselves. They loud and they screamed and yelled. They bumped, they babbled and mumbled like this verse is talking about, and their God didn't hear them. They kept on begging their God to burn down this altar, bring the fire to show that you're real, and Elijah's God's fake, and it didn't happen. God doesn't hear long phrases and everything like that. And these were the false gods. So Elijah, long story short, he said something brief. And then God brought down flaming fire on the altar. And not only that, before it even happened, Elijah put down 12 buckets of water on the altar just because he made it so soaking wet that there was no doubt. If this thing catches fire, you know it's God. So are you like that, guys? You can say a brief prayer and God hears you. And guys, like I was saying, my main point, man, God hears you. God knows. God sees you. You don't got to try to get his attention. Just talk to him. You don't got to put on a show. This is the lesson, man. And this is what Jesus was talking about, guys. So, all right. Y'all can ask questions at the end. It's the end.
Sean, this is a good lesson on. This is a lesson coming off the Sermon on the Mount of God is trying to challenge, I call it the two H's, our humbleness and our hearts. God is challenging and every day, which is completely, and when I was reading this lesson, I said, man, this is a, like, you know, it's like, man, this is a very good lesson, especially now, because if I scroll on my social media, everybody,
Right.
if you look, I mean, not trying to say anything, look at this. We have to put our names on everything we do. We have to be very careful on, and this is what I would say with people when we go to work, and I would say this when they come up with all these homeless plans. I said, man, y'all always got a good plan until it comes time to execute. Y'all always got a good plan, but the policy don't match the plan. You got a good plan, but the people in the room don't match the plan. I said, the plan can be great. When you got all this around it that is not good, we have to be very careful. And Jesus is telling us, y'all are going around with outward appearances. Y'all are going around standing, sitting, following all the rules like the Pharisees did, coming up with a million rules, coming up with what people can and can't do, telling people what they can and can't say. When Jesus is coming through and saying, hold on, you saying you don't murder anybody. It's not about murder. It's about what's in your heart. What's in our heart? Anger. Anger, hate. So don't worry about the murder. You worried about, well, I didn't kill anybody. No, what about the anger that's going to lead to murder? We tell people this all the time with homeless. You don't become homeless tomorrow. You don't lose everything tomorrow. You start losing it weeks ago. You start losing it months ago. You start losing or having issues years ago. It doesn't just drop into your lap. So what are you doing with God is challenging our heart. We can go around all day long, but are we living what's in our heart? Because God knows you can fake it with everybody else, like you mentioned earlier. You can fake it with everybody else. I know if you actually wanted to give your last dollar to that person. And if you didn't have it, don't force them to do it. It says be a cheerful giver. We go around forcing people to do it. We force people to do the opposite of what God tells us to do. So we have to be very careful. God is saying, look, you guys are doing that because of everything that's going on. That's your reward right there. What is in your heart? That's what God wants us to know with the Sermon on the Mount. All the commandments. It's not about, well, I didn't lie. What did you think of? Did you think of stealing? What's in your heart? And that's what this lesson is. Don't determine your eternal salvation based on what you think you can walk around and fool people with each and every day.
Yeah. All right. And I know these are some of the questions, so I'm going to say it now. This lesson is not talking about do not care for the poor. This lesson is not talking about you can't pray in public. This lesson is not talking about you cannot give. And this lesson is not talking about, it's not saying you can't pray continually and without ceasing and nonstop. It's just talking about babbling on about the same old thing, which is another analogy I want to give. Guys, do y'all listen? Y'all remember how a song first hits you? And you're like, ooh, every melody, ooh, every lyric, it just hits you, right? But then a song get old. God speaks through creation, man. Sometimes a song get old to God if you say the same prayer over and over and over and over again. And that's not saying that you're not supposed to go continually to him, like the widow, the poor widow who went to the unrighteous judge, right? And she kept on, irritating him, and he finally gave what she wanted, right? Sometimes y'all, you know what I'm trying to say, all right? God wants you to do that, but not, to the point where you're saying the same old thing over and over, and that's your only prayer the rest of your life.
All right. We want to thank those that teach us for. Okay. Trying to choose words to where it won't offend anyone. Because Sean said in his teaching that sometimes our feelings are so light that we wear our feelings on our shoulder. Then when we try to say a poem, it seems like they're trying to talk about me or talk about them. I hear everybody, giving Kobe praise, and that's good. Okay, that's wonderful. But there was 9 more other persons that died in that wreck. You see what I'm saying? And I hear, and it's constantly going, and I hear everybody praising his basketball skill, which is good. And I argue that point. But then, my concern was about his spirit or his soul from his daughter, that was my concern. I hear nobody talking in the media. And I've been reading. The only thing I heard was one thing, that he did go to the synagogue to see a priest. He prayed over him, they did communion, and had a conversation. That's all I heard. So that when I heard that, I said, well, okay then. He went to get his life together. Say, I learned this, okay, when my brother was dying. And then he didn't know Christ as well. He started out knowing it, but it's something he faded into the woodwork, old saying. And then, so then, you know, he said, why I don't want nobody come and see me. And then the spirit got in me saying, well, God was talking to him. He was getting him ready for his spirit to leave his body. You see what I'm saying? So that, you know, people want to go say, I said, no, don't go say it. I didn't go that much. Because I knew the spirit would get in it, because he would prepare him for death. Death is coming. And it's coming quickly. 9 at a time, 250 at a time, whatever. And then I believe this. Your life, the way we live as Christians, everybody say we're Christian, but everybody in here got to live the life of a Christian. You can pray, you can give, you can talk, you can teach, anything you want to. But if your life is not lining up with God's word, this is just in vain. We just spin that wheel on the back, ain't going nowhere. Feel what I'm saying? So let's make sure that our life lines up. You know, this lesson says this, and then, you know, it says, sometimes we do things in the church without studying what we're doing is a line up to what we're supposed to be doing. No, don't say that. Don't say that. And then, you know, sometimes we really need to do better in what we talk about that we do. In our giving, in things that we do in here doesn't line up to what we're supposed to be doing. But we do it anyway because that's our tradition. Y'all feel what I'm saying? So, Secretary.
I just had a question on one.
Yes, sir.
Make sure, because it brought up something you were mentioning when you were saying that, and it made me think, does God know everything we're going to do and need and say?
Yes.
How do you know you saved? Who knows? How do you know you saved? Didn't it say you were saved before when? Before what? Before you was even born.
Before you was even in your mother's womb.
So before you was even born,
Yes.
God knew you were saved.
He chose
God
you.
knew what you were going to do, and God knew what you needed.
He chose you.
Okay. I just want to make sure we
He
got
adopted you into a household of faith.
He knows all of us.
He did. He knew.
And then he also,
He knew before the
So
world
can
was
you
even
be
born.
taken from that
No
matter what?
No matter what.
Nothing can take, he said nothing can snatch you out.
After he,
Okay.
that's right.
So not the works,
Nothing.
not the, what you said, not the
He said
giving.
nothing. He said
also
nothing.
once saved, always saved. Is that
I'm
what
just
y'all saying?
asking.
Yes.
Was that the case
I'm
then?
just asking. I mean,
Or was that the case then? If y'all lining that up like that, if y'all saying that then you know, I could, come on, Reverend.
Now, if you do that, it's gonna be out there. If you are, you won't do that, right? You won't go down that road, right?
Reverend James.
Help us.
Put him in the middle.
Halfway through it, now you gotta try to piece something together.
Come on, preacher.
What's the question?
I got a question. We were talking about the works and the giving and the humbleness. So I said, does God know what we were going to do from before we were born? And how do we know we saved? Because it says we are saved before he knew us, right? So if he knows us, he knows what we need. He's all powerful, knows what we're doing. What I was leading to, see, because I didn't finish the question, what I was leading to was, then why add all the extra?
Okay, you asked about 7 questions. It wasn't just one. See, that's why on Bible study we're doing essential Christian doctrine.
you can't answer these questions unless you got the core doctrine and teaching. One, a lot of the stuff, when I came in, once saved, always saved. Well, we going into Calvinism, Arminianism, Baptist versus Methodist, and all this other stuff. But if you understand the core doctrine, you know, kind of, God made stuff so simple. What does eternal life mean? Is eternal forever?
Forever.
Or is it pause and it can stop?
No, forever.
So if I give you eternal life, does your life end?
No.
Well, can salvation be forever? Can eternal life be forever?
Yes.
Then it's forever. Forever, ever? Ever? Ever, ever? So, there we go on that. The other one is the doctrine of God. God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. He's everywhere. Omniscient. He's all-knowing. See, your brain can't calculate this because you are already asking that question. If he knows everything, he cannot learn. Before there was, see, when he created stuff, before he created, it was just him. See, you can't even picture that in your mind. Because guess what? Nothing was created. Space. I ain't talking about up there with the star. I'm just talking about matter. That had to be created. Before, he already knew everything. So that means God knows who's saved and who's not saved. He knows who's going to hell and who's not going to hell. He knows how many times I got to come to you with the gospel message and lead you towards salvation. He knew the exact time and date, minute, second, nanosecond that you're going to make the decision. He knows every decision that you are going to make. And he also knows every probability and every other outcome that can be made. He already knew it. Before he says, let there be light. He already knew who was going to rebel. He already knew Lucifer was going to challenge everything. He already knew how many of the third of the heavenly host was going to fall. He already knew that Eve was going to look at that and they were going to consume the fruit. He already knew that I would have to provide salvation for them because somebody must go down. A man must redeem them.
Yes, yes.
So you have to go down. Who is the you, class?
Jesus.
Because Jesus is who?
God in flesh.
The God man.
So he took on 100%
Flesh.
humanity, but he's also 100% God
Same time.
at the same time. He is also the representation of the Godhead.
Yes, yes.
See, when you understand doctrine and you really understand it, it helps you to answer all those other questions.
Well, my brother was saying, why fake it? He knows all this. Why we fake it?
Right.
Why we fake it? He knows this, so you can't fake that. So
Yeah.
we go around faking. I'm like, God knows every motive, you know how we have a motive behind
He has to let everything play out. You are a free moral agency. You must choose. See, if I force you to love me, that ain't love.
That ain't love. That ain't love.
Y'all got that? Ooh, that's bad right there. I like that. I like that. Ram J. Hofer said, Brandon, right quick. I'll get back 30 seconds, right quick. Stand up. I can't hear
I was just wondering, it's only one God, right? So, it's only one God. How is it I'm trying to understand us humans. How is it allowed for some of us to have Christian broken down in different categories like Baptist, Methodist, AME?
Because y'all did that. God didn't do that. Y'all did that.
That's what I'm saying, like how are we allowing, I don't know, like how is.
We ain't allowing nothing. It's because you want to do that. It's a preference.
I'm saying it's Muslim, it's Rastafarian.
Yeah.
It's all this different.
Because it's a preference. Just as you can't understand that truth that God knows everything.
Amen.
See, you trying to calculate in your own mind what you think.
I'm just trying to understand, like, over all this time, since the beginning of time to now, and Noah got the whole earth was flooded, the rainbow sign of peace, and it's still all this separation. And
That's man. It is also the day you eat of the fruit. It's the day you die. It is the manifestation of sin. This stuff is not hard. It's like, just as I can't tell you stuff, I couldn't tell them nothing. I can say it, but sometimes the only way you going to learn it is going through pain. That's the only time we know. Some of the stuff we knew, oh, I shouldn't stay out late with these friends. Oh, I shouldn't do this. You knew not to do it, but you went and did it anyway. And then when you got jacked up, Lord, I wish I would have. How come you just couldn't, as soon as I told you?
Because some people born into, like, a kamikaze on 9/11. Those children were probably babies. Their parents said, I'm going to have you, you're going to be born to do the 9/11 thing. And they made them do the 9/11.
Wait.
That's almost like Christianity. Some people born into a Christian family, so their family say, you got to be a Christian.
No.
No.
Again, understand the core doctrine and teaching. There is no one righteous, no, not one. All have sinned. You are born a sinner. They are sinners. Everyone has the sinful nature. You just not have fully expressed your sinfulness because it hadn't caught up with your mind and your spirit and your body and your ability to do it. We done got old and we have carried out multiple sins. Right? We have multitasked sins. But the sinful nature is in us. That sinful nature causes you to where you cannot see. You cannot hear. You cannot understand. You can't hear God. You didn't save yourself by being good. God saved you. You didn't even want to be saved because you didn't know something was wrong with you. And some of us don't even acknowledge that you're wrong now. But he's let sin plays out. That's why he's doing it. He's letting it play out. He's letting it play out to Satan. Oh, you think you want to be God, huh? Let me show you something. And everybody else, let me show you something. Until you understand who he is. See, when you really understand that, oh, you change. Our churches will change. See, y'all come here with, oh, I want my prayers answered. If my people are called by my name, Lord, open up the windows of heaven. If you understand who God really is, you would not talk. You would not ask anything. The only thing you would do is get flat on your face in front of this altar. If we understood, there would not be talking as soon as we came in that door. If we understood who he really is. You would not ask him for anything. You would just thank him for putting breath in your body. And Lord, what is it that you require of me to do? That's it. That would be your only prayer. If you understood who he is. You want a right to have a house. You want a right to do these things. You want to just be blessed and all that. That ain't what this mess is about. And soon and very soon, you're going to find out who he is. I thank you, preacher. Appreciate you. Give me just a short highlight.